Today I decided to give you guys a ranking of the Men in Black films. This is a series of films that started in 1997. There are 4 films in this franchise, and so without further ado, I decided to give you guys my ranking from worst to best, starting with Men in Black International. This one has a lot to be desired. This time, instead of Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith, you get Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth. It basically shows a new girl that ends up finding out about the MIB, and instead of neuralizing her like they should have, they send her to a European section of the MIB where she teams up with Chris Hemsworth and tries to stop an alien invasion threat that could potentially end the world. This one is okay for what it is. It's just very forgettable. I think that Liam Neeson would have been better suited as the mentor character. But instead, spoiler alert, he turns out to be the villain. And Chris Hemsworth is kind of an agent that they don't really trust very well. And they think he's not really competent, but he does prove himself. And I don't know, it works for what it is. But it's mostly a forgettable Men in Black film. And though it does try to continue the series in something of an interesting way, it's definitely the worst of the 4 films. A few fun action sequences here and there's some globetrotting, which I do like. But apart from that, pretty forgettable. And apart from a few funny characters like the little sidekick dude, it's just not that interesting. And one that I don't really recommend. Coming in at number 3 is Men in Black 3. This one I actually rather enjoy. I think it has a really good connection to the first film, which you find out at the very end. And I think that the villain, Boris the Animal, is pretty great. I love the time travel aspect of the movie as well, and I think Josh Brolin does a great job as young Agent K. It's very enjoyable, but the only problem that I have with the film is that it's a little bit cartoony at times. The Men in Black films were never super realistic, but something about the third film, they really amped up the cartooniness, especially towards the final act of the film. And I know the film's supposed to be a time travel movie, but I do find the lack of Tommy Lee Jones is kind of noticeable. Josh Brolin does a great job as a young Agent K, but admittedly, it had me longing for more Tommy Lee Jones, and he only really bookends the film, and he's not in any of the second act or most of the third act. If I'm being purely objective, this should have ranked number 2, but that's not how my lists work, and I'm just ranking on how much I enjoy the film, and I do have to put it slightly below my number 2 entry. Still very enjoyable, really good special effects this time around, some really good emotional beats, especially towards the end when you find out about Jay's father. Ultimately a good entry, and one that I very much enjoy. Just not quite as good as the first 2. Up next, and probably very controversially, is Men in Black 2, released in 2002. This film is technically not as good as 1 or 3, but I still very much enjoy this one, and I'm just very nostalgic for it. I really enjoy Serlina as a villain. I think that she has really cool powers, and I like that she has a personal connection to Kay's past. I really do think Rosario Dawson does a great job as Jay's love interest, and the princess from another planet. Ultimately, this one is goofy. It is silly. It definitely has too much CGI. And I agree with some of the complaints that people have about the film. Ultimately, I think this is an underrated and overly hated film. Critics and audiences really didn't like this one, at least for the most part. But how I feel about it, I think Men in Black 2 is a hidden gem. It's very enjoyable. I like this action in the film. I love the look of New York. And it could just be nostalgia, but it has a special place in my heart, and it is my second favorite of the franchise. One that I feel gets way too much hate, and one that I highly recommend. But you just can't beat the best, and that's the very first Men in Black, released in 1997. Directed by Barry Sonnenfeld, who also directed 2 and 3. This film stars Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith. Will Smith is a young agent named James, and he runs into this alien, and thus also runs into Agent K, who recruits him into the Men in Black, which is an organization of people that try to protect the world from alien threats in Manhattan. It's very entertaining. The film is actually based on a comic book, which is much more dark. A lot of people don't even know that. But the film lightens the mood a lot from the original comic book, and you get what is essentially a very entertaining and really goofy film, but a really fun one as well. I love Vincent D'Onofrio as the villain, Edgar, who's basically a giant cockroach who infests this farmer, and he is just hilarious in the film. I've liked almost all the Men in Black villains except for High T from Part 4, but Edgar is still probably my favorite villain. So goofy, so silly, and he has the best one-liners. I also love all the other performances in the film as well. Tommy Lee Jones is really great as the stern Agent K. And Will Smith is doing great as Agent J, the rookie agent. All in all, there's just not much that I can say about the film that is negative. It's just so entertaining, so fun, and it's one of the best 90s blockbusters out there. Very enjoyable, a really great cast, an amazing soundtrack, some great special effects, and ultimately just a great film, and one that I really recommend to anyone who loves good cinema. Well, that's my list. I know this one's been kind of late. I try to have these things out once a week, but I've been really busy with work lately. But I am glad that I got this one out to you. I hope you all can leave your list down below, and let me know what your favorite Men in Black movie is. Thanks for watching, and peace out.